All right, let's get cracking here. How's everybody doing? Good, I hope. Hope nobody's going losing their minds with all the volatility and craziness. Got to try to dumb things down in this environment, because you get caught up in every little move. You could really go absolutely nuts. And that's kind of what we were talking about before we started officially on this webinar, right? If you look at especially the last few days, you've had some bullish price action early on in the day, and then just these vicious fades, straight down, mechanical fades, closing near the lows every day. Today, kind of everybody expecting that. You got that for 2-3 days in a row. They rallied them late, but net, there's nothing going on. And this is the thing I kind of kept reminding myself over the last couple of days, right? And this is more for on the swing trade side than anything else. Intraday's been a little tricky because, especially into the afternoons, when if you don't have sentiment on your side, with some weakness, you risk getting caught in these fades the last couple of days, and they can sneak up on you quick, and they've been pretty vicious. So it hasn't been too fun if you've been attempting trying to catch a long into the afternoon. But yeah, that's a nice line there. I can do better than that. Let me try one more time, right? Whatever. So not to get technician on you, you guys know I'm no chartist by no means, but it's just a common price action when you get into these corrective phases in the market, right? You get this washout here where a ton of damage has been done. Okay, again, not just in price action, but in sentiment, more importantly. Okay, and you get some bearish extreme sentiment here where adds some support, right? We talk about that, where buyers, the probability of buyers showing up is a lot higher, and whoever really needed to get out, okay, this is not necessarily capitulation, but more on the tactical side. Whoever needed to sell, they sold, right, into this downdraft, right? So then eventually, and these days it's in this market happens a lot quicker in the snap of the finger, but you get that sentiment snapback rally, and that's this, right? This is what we spoke about. And, what we've been seeing in a rigged market, a lot of times, you get right? With no pause, no shakeouts, no nothing, just algos flipping the switch, CTAs flipping the switch from bearish to bullish, gamma squeezes on top of it. So now this has been a little bit different, right? This is supposedly going to be different because now you've got the Fed on the verge of tightening, right? And even the Fed hasn't even really started to do anything. The market started to do it for them, okay? Rates have been creeping higher. Financial conditions have been tightening up. Credits, showing small cracks here and there, spreads widening. So it doesn't come as easy anymore, right? The game is not rigged in a sense. And the normal price action, what you do, you get basically just a sentiment squeeze because it was overdone, right? And these lows hold, and you get a rally, but still technically in that downtrend of lower highs, okay? And what usually happens, okay, you either get something like this that eventually leads to a retest of some sort, right? Or you get the breakout, right? And those of you who are technicians know exactly what I'm talking about there. And it's interesting that, and this is what I was referring to earlier, I kind of kept reminding myself that the odds are, right, we're going into a widely watched number tomorrow. A lot of people just trying to get a gauge on not only what the CPI, everybody knows the CPI is going to be hot, but kind of get a feel of how the Fed's going to go about it, right? Are they going to take it serious enough? Maybe the CPI is not as hot and people can dial down their expectations of raising rates. CPI Thursday, what did I say? Tomorrow again? I've been saying that all day. I don't know why. Thursday, right? So now the question you have to ask yourself, if you're initializing long positions here on the swing side, right? So you're looking for more upside than what we're just saw today, or the top of this range. Is this market going to break out ahead of that CPI? You know what I mean? And, chances are it's not. Can it? Of course it can, right? And it has in the past. But more than likely, it's probably not. And if it is, based on my experience, I'm convinced that we are going to see a whole different tone as far as the sweeper activity is concerned, and even the price action. Okay, you're not going to be led by squeeze moves in EV names and AMC and GameStop. Chances are you got a lot of stuff that's at a discount, well off the highs that we just saw a couple of weeks back. You're probably going to see some real names get gobbled up if you're on the verge of a big breakout of such, right? So, and the reason I bring that up is because in this type of market, when you get these type of moves in the heat of the action, like I was saying earlier, every up day feels like you're going to get the breakout, right? And every down day feels like you're going to roll over and bust new lows, right? And we're kind of in between right now. And that's been the tricky part too for us in the steam room who, go off, rely on sentiment and sweeper activity, right? Here, okay, we came to the conclusion that we got a pretty good shot, right? We're talking probability and odds. We got pretty good odds of these lows holding, right? And not even a certain level, but buyers will show up into weakness, right? Bears will get squeezed into weakness. Why? You had bearish extreme here as far as positioning is concerned. Okay, so you really need something to blow up for these bears that are coming in late to the party to get paid, right? You need that big event. Without that, the likelihood, and you look back, we looked at late 2018, 2011, you name it. What usually happens is one or two things. You get a strong enough of a squeeze over, a couple of weeks where you wear out that bearish sentiment. So a lot of those indicators we've been looking at go from bull signal to at least neutral. A lot of times, I told you guys, a lot of times it's hard to imagine that now you go from bearish extreme to bullish extreme in a few weeks, a month. Okay. But usually, and the noteworthy part of this sentiment support here that we just had, it usually doesn't disappear. It's not going to disappear in a matter of days, right? You're talking about the likelihood of multi-week move at the least, where these should hold and there should be plenty of tactical squeezes off any weakness, right? So that's kind of where we're at now, right? So the risk of getting long up here, right, would be that you get a little bit of weakness that is the in-between here, right? So you got, these are big moves now. This is no 10 S&P points, right? You got some big movement. So you run the risk of being underwater if you do stick your neck out here, okay? And the best way to go about it, right, is if you have some exposure off that sweet spot, as we like to call it, you hold on to that, adjust the position so you can survive a little weakness if there is any, but look to that weakness as a secondary tactical long entry spot, right? So that's kind of what you would be waiting for here if you want to play according to the playbook. And listen, I know it gets corny, but if you're tired of getting chopped up, if you're tired of buying and you're green for a half hour and then you get caught in a fade in the afternoon and run over, you got to stick to the playbook, right? I mean, the playbook, we talk about it for a reason. It really dumbs things down, keeps things simple enough to the point where at least you have a guide to know your risk. You know what I mean? Otherwise, this market can really drive you nuts because it feels like you're in no man's land, right? You make no sense out of the day-to-day moves if you're not going to any prior playbook that you have conviction in, right? So that's kind of where we're at, right? And I can tell you guys what I'm doing, and it doesn't mean you should be doing the same thing, but just so you know, in layman's terms, what this all means, right? So I had some April S&P 500 exposure that we put on into the extreme bearish sentiment. Today, as I mentioned to you, members, early morning and midday, we didn't take any money out of that position. We kept the same amount of money in that position, but rolled out for a little more time, right? So now we're in June calls. And the reason why we did that is if we do get, again, off Thursday CPI, some selling and tactical sentiment signals light up bullish again, we want the ability to add to that. You understand? Rather than being underwater on a position that has less time. So that's why we did that, right? We left room from the get-go to add, and that's the way we're looking to combat this over the short term. And the reason why is we believe that if this market does sell from here, okay, the likelihood is the selling will be short-lived and buyers will come in to support that. Because again, if you look at where sentiment's at, and we'll look at some of the stuff now after we go through this little intro here, we haven't completely washed out the bearish sentiment out there, right? Not even close. As a matter of fact, we have even more indicators involved showing us that players got a little, they did a little too much de-risking into this, okay? On top of some stronger signals that we've seen some improvement in, right? AKA Sharpies and hedge funds potentially getting net short. So the bottom line is we want not even a big yank, but we want some weakness, and we're going to use some of the shorter term signals as a guide to get our hands on some exposure, some more exposure. All right. The only way that changes for us is when we start to lose that sentiment support here. Okay. When that retail put buying gets washed out, when this fear greed goes from favorable to unfavorable. Again, you guys know the indicators we look at. Equity hedging goes from buy signal to at least neutral. When we start to see a lot of these indicators move further away from bullish territory, that's when we need to reevaluate and possibly make that decision whether we want to yank our exposure off the table, look for weakness, for a new entry. But again, at that time, it depends on a lot of other things, right? The flow could be singing a different tune. I mean, we're going through a period of probably, a lengthy stretch of the ugliest sweeper activity we've seen in a while, as far as, again, clean, outright size bets. It's just, it has a pattern buying. It just hasn't been much of it. Okay. Come time when these sentiment indicators do cross up to neutral and we lose some of that sentiment support, they could be bombing. They could be in the midst of bombing certain names and sectors, right? And we don't need to rely on sentiment as much. See, you see what I'm getting at here? The action being so awful, again, flow, breadth, participation, you name it, that I have to rely on favorable sentiment for me to even pull the trigger on the long side on anything. You know what I mean? On anything. Otherwise, for me, it's just it's not worth it. It's not worth the risk that you have to take. You know what I mean? To start any decent sized long position in this mess, right? The only way I see it worthwhile is when you have that sentiment support at your back. So even though things are ugly, you know that there are enough bears involved and enough bulls have been shaken out to the point where there'll be plenty of squeezes to try to take advantage of. Okay. But if right now, the way things are with flow and everything else, if we lose sentiment by the end of the week, I'm back to being lost in space and having zero conviction in anything. You know what I mean? Zero conviction. And again, I'm not, you guys are very different than the way I play this game. I am not even going to try to handicap the macro on my own and try to figure out what to buy. Been there, done that. That is not even a last resort on my mind these days. You know what I mean? So unless I have the signals I have confidence in screaming at me to look at something and to take action, I'm just not going to do it. I'm just not going to do it. And the reason why is to avoid getting thrown around like a rag doll, to avoid having the market sit at new highs while I buy individual names that are getting slaughtered. You understand? That's not a good feeling. That's not a good feeling. And we forget, nobody wants that, right? But in the heat of the action, you forget, how really difficult things are, right? There's a reason why the sweeper activity has been so poor. And again, I'm not saying it now with the market, as you guys know, with the market in correction. We've been saying that when the market was pushing to new highs. I told you guys, for months that I've been lost in space in individual names as far as positions are concerned. I had zero confidence in holding anything longer than a week, even when things were going well, right? So this has been going on a while, and that's a signal in itself. That was telling us that the market was running on fumes, and we need to be careful, right? Especially in individual names. Okay, there's a reason why they're not getting aggressive and sweeping up names especially that are at a discount from new highs. All right, so that's the game plan here, right? Nothing really has changed. Okay, we're still in really good shape, and good enough shape that we're looking forward to weakness. You understand? We're not scared of weakness here. We want selling because the selling is where the opportunities are going to be for the time being. All right, what we need to be careful of right now, until again we see a different tone in the sweeper activity, is buying away from those sentiment signals, right? So chasing moves, chasing rallies. So that's where we got to be careful. But this is exactly what we wanted to see here, right? This is exactly what the last thing we wanted to see was this thing to go like that. We were right. That's what we were talking about. And then everybody who got shaken out here just comes right back in here, and then they catch them over here again, right? Because you're not going anywhere. What you want to see is this thing hang around here for as long as it has to, right? Get a healthy cleansing, be patient, let things materialize, and then before you know it, you're going to start to see things click. And what I mean by click, you're going to start to see sweepers, not one bet on a Tuesday, but you'll see them come after a name on a Tuesday, and then on a Thursday, when that name is down, they're coming in to buy more. And then the following day, the stock's not doing anything, but they're coming in to buy more. And you start to see, real players accumulate positions, right? Not in weeklies. They're betting on names at that point. Right now, what we're seeing out there is hedging and players just playing, rolling the dice in short-term weekly crap, right? A lot of the stuff we're seeing are shorts who have made some money and are hedging their positions in some of these things in weeklies. No doubt about it. The majority of it probably is. Okay. No institution, no real player out there is going to be like, oh man, PayPal is off so-and-so from the highs. Let's go. Traders, get to work. I want as much as you can get in calls that expire in 2 days. You know what I mean? It's not, that's not what they're doing. You know, they're going to sit there and pick a wide range where they're going to buy on any little dip in weakness with time, right? And that's in addition to what they're doing on the equity side, okay? They're not sizing up in weeklies that expire in 2 days. Okay, those are short hedging or players just playing. You know, that's what it is. And that's all fine and dandy, right? You can day trade, you can do a variety of things off of that type action, but it's not the real players out there calling bottom in what we want to see, right? And that's what we're looking for. Signs that the bigger money, the smarter money out there is sticking their neck out and calling bottom, right? And again, forget even the market in some of the other stuff out there, in some of the names out there. Okay, so that's one, right? And the other would be, you know, outside of individual names, you get enough market volatility or a shakeout to where the riffraff get short and Sharpies step in aggressively and take off all their hedges and get long, and then we're in party mode from there, right? So that's kind of where we want this thing to end up. Doesn't always end up that way, but you know, we got to take each and every day, be patient and allow it to happen, you know, and allow it to happen. And you can see already, right? Things are starting to materialize. A lot of us are gun shy. Well, gun shy is not the word, but feel like we've been bitten by being patient before, because when we hoped something like that would come, right? They just squeezed it right back to new highs. And then we hoped something like that would come and they squeezed it right back to new highs. Or even this one here, which was even a better setup. But what you guys are forgetting when you're remembering that is how shitty the participation and the action was while this up move took place. Okay, even if you caught this entry, which a lot of us did, okay, and sold it here, you had nothing to get long after that. You understand? So what are you going to do? You're going to buy the market again higher than where you sold to a couple days ago? And that's where you make a donation. You know what I mean? So we forget all the bad that's caused from it. You know what I mean? But we're gun shy, like the market's going to run away from us if we don't stay patient and disciplined, because of all this that's happened in the past, right? And that's what the market does, guys. That's what makes this market, you know, this game so difficult. I mean, look at the example the last couple of days, right? Straight out, I'll go fade into late afternoon into the close for the past 3 days. Today it looked like here we go again, and then boom, they rip it in the last 15 minutes or whatever it was, right? That's what the market does. They get players to expect and think, right? And build a strong enough bias, and then they run them the F over. That's how the game works. That's how the game works. All right, so that's the game plan. Let's look at some of the stuff that that's improved. Again, some of the stuff that's improved, and some of the stuff we lost a little bit. We lost a little bit of strength of the signal because of the rally, you know. But hold on, one thing at a time here. Let me get. All right, so here was one of them, right? Okay, again, this is an indicator, even if you're not a member to anything, you can find anywhere, right? The AAII weekly survey, okay? And boom, bull signal there, right? You got to squeeze. Now, again, this is where you see a lot of people, and this is where they get frustrated with these indicators and then think they don't work anymore, right? You got the bounce, and now, yeah, you're still at a favorable spot here, but it's not on buy signal anymore. You understand what I'm saying? So very easily, we can get a sell-off off the CPI, right? Going into next week, and the market pull back, and then this thing go back on buy signal. Okay, so that's what I mean where, we're in a little tricky spot, right? We're not technically on buy signal anymore on some of these things. All right, but that's still in good shape. Again, one of the reasons why we want to look to buy weakness, right? Shit, I should have just posted all these because I'll never find them the way I word them. Okay, this is equity hedging now, hedging in actual equities. Okay, and you can see what's going on here, right? From where players had no interest in any hedges on their equities in a rigged market, now all of a sudden, they've been a lot more aggressive in hedging their equity positions, right? Again, this is just got on buy signal now. Okay, just recently, a couple days ago. Yeah, I'm just running through some of these things. You guys know, especially those of you members know the majority of this stuff. I gotta post an updated one of this. But you get a general idea, right? Sector sentiment. Right? Outside of energy, you had every sector on buy signal, market bounced, sentiments bounced, right? So you've moved off a buy signal on a lot of these things. Okay, some more than others, especially like Cal saying, some of the commodity names, the higher interest rate names, the financials and stuff like that, they've been strong. All right, here's the Goldman. I know you guys ask for this every time we get together. Oh, boom! Look at this. I'm doing good here. I'm doing well. All right, this is the updated Goldman rundown. Okay, so overall here, this is the missing link here, guys. Okay, and this may come at the end of this correction. Okay, very possible. Usually does, meaning one of the last ones. But flows coming into the market. Remember, we've been talking about how strong flows have been, blah, blah, blah. Okay, they haven't wavered. Okay, we haven't seen that capitulation yet of outflows. Okay, when we do see that, maybe, it's possibility it adds to the weakness over the short term. But I mean, that's a telltale sign of capitulation as well, when you got some of the other sentiment stuff lining up. So you get that and you start getting these diamonds moving in that direction, and you're going to have, everything there. And that's usually major bottoms. You get that, right? Aside from that, everything has been moving to risk off. Okay, the dark blue diamond, if you're wondering, is the current one. Orange is a month ago. So you can see all of them moving west. Okay, but again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I want to repeat myself so you know. For this to have everything line up here, you're talking about major bottoms. You're talking about a complete reset and washout. Complete. The old expression, sellers dry up, there's no more sellers. That's what you get when you get all these indicators to line up. It takes work. You know what I mean? It takes time, it takes work. And not everything's a major bottom. We're not institutions. We're trading our own account. We can make money off tactical lows. You know what I mean? Or tactical bottoms. The ones that rally for a day and disappear are the ones that we want to stay away from because they're really difficult, right? For swing trades. We're not Houdini, but when you get a strong enough of support or sentiment where you get enough of these things like we like, it's definitely worth playing for a squeeze. Here's another one. You guys remember we were talking on the webinar that we wanted to get there. It bounced, right? Where the hell is it now? Is this it? 2-1. I think it's a little bit lower than this. All right. But this got there with several others. Okay, and when it does, it's a pretty strong signal for the indices. All right, so the COVID crash you had, Trey, there wasn't one that wasn't there. That's how devastating that was. Everything you could possibly think of in the COVID crash got there into the lows. Everything. Any indicator you can think of. Now, again, we like to talk about late 2018 because, it reminds us of it, right? A lot of resemblance there. Hold on. Okay, that was bothering me. 2018 trade, this is what happened. Look, and I think already, we discussed this, but just as a reminder, okay, this is the 2018 setup, okay? So basically, where we were off the last signal we got, Trey, was probably around similar to this, okay? Then you got a rally, then see you got a retest here, okay? That's what we're looking for now. It doesn't even, again, don't get caught up in the price action because it depends how sentiment plays out, but then you got another rally. And these two here did not have everything involved like the COVID crash, but they had enough involved, okay? That at the time we were saying that exactly what we're saying now, right here, right? That the lows, there should be sentiment support here for at least a couple of weeks till they wear them out, okay? And by this time here, a lot of those indicators were worn out. They weren't at bearish extreme anymore. People, I remember, were talking double bottom, blah, 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 Santa rally. I don't know if you remember everybody screaming about a Santa rally there. So everybody was getting bullish here, okay? And then you had this, whoop, okay? And into this, that's where everything got involved, like the COVID crash. You understand? So here we didn't have it. It was similar to what we're seeing now. But then, you like that? I'm like Madden, the football commentator. Bam, boom. So here's where we were, similar to where we are currently. And then this was devastation and got rid of everybody. You understand? And this, you had, you name it, Sharpies, Hedge Funds short, Bova Bull Bear, you name it, it was there. Name it, it was there. But, it took work. Like, again, we talk about this, right? Charts don't do it justice. Like, this doesn't look that awful when you look at it on the chart. But playing through it was a disaster. It looks awful? All right. Well, to some of us, yeah, it feels a lot worse than it is, Like when these lows went out and this felt like what like PayPal and Facebook is going through right now. You know what I mean? Just down every day and you don't know what the hell is going on. Mnuchin, remember, is getting on the phone. He's getting on the horn, calling the banks to make sure they have enough capital to survive. Yeah, it was nuts. So, this may not look as frightening But this was, right up there with the COVID crash, into the holidays, especially that it caught Santa rally players here, so it caught them flat-footed, and then just ran everybody over, and I'll be honest with you guys, I got run over there as well. I got run over. See here, I played something here. So I played here, and I played something here. Okay. But I'll be honest with you guys, as negged out as I was that this went south, like the only thing I was waiting for was, right? I was waiting for Sharpies and the real dudes to show up. There was nothing else at that time I was looking at, because there was nothing going on. It was just straight liquidation during the holidays. Nobody was even at the office. Felt like the market could go to zero by the end of the month because nobody was around. And then Powell pivoted. Powell was tightening, very similar, a lot of similarities to what we're seeing now. All right. So again, it's something to keep in mind here, right? That's what I'm saying. Like, we should here, okay, there's been enough damage and enough bearish sentiment that, again, where we are now, sentiment-wise, this should hold, okay? We got a little room here, but this should hold, okay? What happens come March, April? Do we roll over and then get all the big guys involved? Who knows? It doesn't necessarily have to happen. We can hang out, here and hold the lows and still get the big guys, meaning Sharpies, and because we're so close now, we're a lot closer. I guess if I show you guys who don't know what the hell I'm talking about. All right, this is what I mean by we're close. I'm going to kill somebody. Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. Here we go. Look at hedge. Okay. So you got hedge funds. See how they're hanging out here, right? Okay. This is technically, it's not a bullish signal yet, right? Again, if the market was going higher and sweepers were buying the living crap out of something, out of names, this we would look at as favorable, because the way we'd be talking about it, we'd be saying, listen, they're going to have to come in and chase. The market's moving against them, right? But that's not what's going on here yet. Okay, the flow sucks, right? Breadth has improved a little bit here off the sentiment bounce, but nothing, no great shakes yet. Okay, so if we do get a pull, right, a retest or whatever, they're not too far away from being net short. That's the next step. Okay. And here's the COVID crash. Okay. 2018's block out. But they were significantly net short into the lows, into 2018. So this is not that far away. All right, so that would be one really bullish thing. Okay. The other, of course, and there are more, but these are the two a lot of us have our eyes on right now. Is this, right? Okay, our little Sharpie riffraff indicator. Okay, now, again, this is nothing yet. This is not a bull signal yet. And I've seen this, and I've seen the market roll over into this, right into its mug. So don't take this as a bullish signal yet. Okay. But the reason why you see this spike is because Sharpies have removed some of their hedges. But even more so, the spec crowd got shaken out. That's why you have a pretty strong bounce here. Okay, I'll show you what the Sharpie, the riffraff. Oop. What the hell? Oh, no, that's not it. Where is it? How come I can never find things the way I want them? Didn't I, maybe it's under here. Let me see. Yeah, this is it, right? Yep. God, so complicated. All right, so this is riffraff spec positioning. See here, they were getting a little too bullish. This means they were getting long. Okay, and then whoosh, they got shaken out. Okay, again, no bull signal yet, but it's moved closer, right? So if we do get potentially a retest, all right, or push lower from here, okay, now we're not that far away, right? It can happen quick. Okay, this COVID crash buy signal here, you know, from sell signal to buy signal, 1, 2, 3 weeks. Okay, we are the riffraff, yes. We are the riffraff, Sherry. We are the riffraff. All right, so here's the point I was making. You see this spike here? Okay, if you bought this spike, you would have got trampled. You know what I mean? And then you would have been cursing out Sharpies in every different language, because look what happened that following week. You would have been like, you son of a bitch, right? You would have been trying to front run a follow through potentially, and you got the opposite. Then you would have got shaken out, and then this happened the following week, and you would have been on suicide watch, you know? So don't jump the gun. You know, don't jump the gun. Okay, it's worth hanging around, because again, the way I look at it is, even, you know, let's say Sharpies don't get an entry, right, and the market starts to act better with Sharpies at a neutral stance. Okay, we're going to see a total different environment climate with what you call it, with buying in individual names and price action in individual names. You know what I mean? So the market will look healthier. And, you know, again, you don't need to rely on sentiment and Sharpie positioning to get long if things are healthier. Just right now, you're at the total opposite side, right? Things look disgusting. It's looked as unhealthy as you can possibly get, right? We use the term running on fumes. So when you see that, like, well, I should say I say you. When I see that, I automatically, by default, will rely on this stuff. You understand? Again, it's my seatbelt. Like, there is no, based off what I'm seeing, there's no reason for me to jump into this market and start buying shit if the smarter money on the street, right, is at max hedge, right? I mean, it makes sense. Okay, now again, if I'm seeing sweepers go nuts and start bombing things in underbelly names, okay, underbelly growth names like we like, potentially new leaders, but Sharpies are neutral or hedged, then okay, right? Then I'm willing to take some risk out there in individual names, because sweepers are telling me they're doing some stock picking. I don't have to rely on the overall market. Maybe these names outperform and the market does nothing. But we're not getting any of that. You know, we're not getting any of that. We're not getting any of that. That's so you are taking tactical sentiment signals for short sentiment. Yeah. So, like, for example, here's my swing trading. I kid you not, that. All right. People in the room can vouch, because, you know, I could lie and make up shit and not even go that route. Okay. But my last 2 swing trades, okay, were off this pull and off this pull. And they both been on the market, on the overall, on the S&P 500. My past 2 swing trades in options. All right. So, yeah, I'm being dead straight with you. Okay. And you guys remember we had the webinar. I sold right into this, I think Niner, right? Is where a few of us got out. So the majority of this, I was day trading and bullshit. I didn't make any money there. I didn't make any money there. So that's what I'm doing. Pretty much what you're saying there. The tactical signals are not just tactical. Some of the indicators we looked at, not just the short-term indicators, but when they line up, and we feel we got some sentiment support where we should see a squeeze. Okay, that's where I'll look to take swings now. Otherwise, it's not worth it. Like again, we talked about this a couple months ago. I don't want to constantly bring it up, but we were talking about individual names, right? Maybe we should start buying individual names because they're down 60%. Okay, but the question was, what about if the market does this? Okay, those individual names that are down 40, 50%, are they going to just buck the trend and go higher? Chances are no. If anything, at best, they'll just hold up better. So why? You know what I mean? Why risk our money? Yeah, understand. We know the risk. We've been talking about the risk for a few months now. But what's the reward here? Well, why take the risk if there's no reward? So that's basically where we've been at for quite a bit now. And for the first time, probably since, it's even a better setup than the last one we had, probably since election, when Biden got elected, we have a decent setup materializing. So we got some good stuff coming together here. We just got to be patient. And that's the thing. Don't play. We're all going to play anyway. All right. But just be aware of your entries in this type of environment, because you can get mangled quick. Even with your entries, you got to expect, even with solid entries, you got to expect being underwater the way the volatility is. But, you start sticking your neck out when sentiment runs away from you, whoo, you can be wiped out quick, right? You guys know what the hell I'm talking about, and options especially. Yeah, and that's another thing, Jay, it's a bullish nugget, right? You got buybacks, we're out of that blackout period. So if you get some weakness, that's another, potential adding of support. And think of this, right? We joke around, right? We got the Fed, even if they're just talking about it and not doing it, talking about unrigging the game here. Okay, if we can't get shakeouts, volatility, and pullbacks off of that, we'll never get it. You understand? Forget about what we've seen the last couple of years, where algos just run things straight up and you never get a dip. Okay, that was a rigged game. All right, until the Fed rigs the game again, you got to get that out of your head. Now all those things that frustrated us, looking to buy weakness and looking to buy off favorable sentiment, where we thought it was a waste the last couple of years, those are going to play a big part now. You know what I mean? They're going to play a big part. And people who don't pay attention, the players who don't pay attention to that are just going to get chopped up and wiped out. There's no other way. The good times don't last forever. I mean, they lasted a lot longer than any of us thought, right? The old Fed put. Anybody have any questions on any of this shit here? All right, or the game plan, or anybody have any questions off the last setup? Something that they may have seen that they got in their way, or they didn't understand, or waiting for, anything like that? No, right? Everyone's crystal. Yeah, June calls. I had April's. Would I add the same or different? In other words, the same principal bet and same amount of money I had, we just moved it into June calls. We didn't take any profits or anything out of there. You understand? Is that what you're referring to? Or you're just saying add a completely new position? I wouldn't do that here yet. Oh, and the pullback. Yeah. Well, here's the thing, okay? On a pullback, as of right now, we're going to play it the same way. But, depending on when this pullback comes, maybe we get, a TQQQ bomb. You know what I mean? Or maybe they bomb names that in that particular time frame into the weakness. So as of right now, I'm sticking with the S&P 500, but that can change. I just want to make you aware so you don't think I'm giving you two answers, some now and then at the time. So for example, if we get that TQQQ dude, he rolls around and he sweeps the daylights out of calls there, I have some SPY exposure. I might as well just, we might just go with some Qs or even TQQQ at that time. You tried to roll into two separate orders, never got filled on my new buy, got greedy. Which one now, Stephen? You're talking about you tried to roll in two separate orders, never got you filled and got greedy trying to. So in other words, you're still in an initial position you're talking about, Steve? You're still holding on to just the same position from the sentiment spot? Is that what you mean? Yeah. So that's fine. You don't have to rush. You know what I mean? Yeah. The thing is, Thursday is like kind of the binary event here. That's why I just wanted to do it before then. But I don't see it as a big deal, Stephen. We were just going to leave things alone because, April's not in a couple of weeks. There's some time there. Yeah, me too. Yeah, again, if we do get a yank, that'll be good. That'll be good. Because, see, what always worries me is you get that squeeze. You know what I mean? You get that squeeze. Now, again, if you have exposure, it's not the end of the world because you're going to make money on that position you have. But when you wait around for this, I need this. Need is a strong word, but I really want this to at the least hang around here. Because it's been so long, it feels like. But I really, at the least, I'm almost to the point, Tree, I kid you not. It sounds ridiculous. My buddy thinks it's stupidity, but I wouldn't even be that upset if this market off some news event just rolled over and broke and then just quickened the process to get Sharpies in. You know what I mean? Yeah, I would lose my money, obviously, but you get to from A to Z. Again, we're assuming that smarter money would step in, knock on wood, but get the process moving quicker. But ideally, what I would like is just a tough period of wide range chop that feels bearish, but really isn't that bearish. And the kicker though is sweepers start coming in and getting involved in names. That's the kicker. That there's buying into it. Otherwise, it feels like it goes a complete waste. We haven't seen in reality any of that. Trade, let me tell you something. If it wasn't for earnings, there'll be a lot of names. Look at these names here, right? Today was the first day I feel where I could have left earnings plays off today. Today's flow wasn't awful. Look here. like I could separate earnings bets because everything has been earnings bets, right? All right. So these are the earnings bets. There were a couple of good ones, right? AES, that's the one Tree's talking about. They report on the 24th. Again, double check these dates. Intuit caught a nice size bet. Same date, 24th, they report. This OSH, big action there, December's, they report. So that's the earnings stuff, right? So push that aside. Here's some of the cleaner action out there, okay, that already reported earnings. BBWI, we've seen some buying in this name. This was an interesting combination bet. They sold puts to buy a call spread, okay. Visa, which has been acting better, right? Look at the size of this bad boy. That's a real bet. TSM, we've seen a good amount of action in this name from time to time. July bet, over $1 million sweep. They reported, right? And the stuff to keep our eyes on, which has been the worst stuff to this point, these beat up travel names that never have rallied, right? Like the pure play reopening names. The flow has improved. They reported, right? They were seeing flow, but they had earnings. And, right out of the gate today, they started to see some action again. So what I mean, keep an eye on it. The real tell is going to be when they're down. Do buyers come in when they're down, or do we just see put action again? And they're just playing momentum. The action looks a little bit different now. Okay, it doesn't look like that pure momentum action, right? You got some time, the size, they're not in weeklies. So it looks different. But again, the telltale sign will be into weakness. Now, you look at these charts, like just the spot, these stocks are pretty much the only ones that haven't worked out of COVID. Okay, for good reason, but they're the last group, or you want to say the only group that didn't have crowded positioning coming out of that COVID rally. So, especially like these cruise lines, they don't look bad. Like the airlines, I've always hated. Oh, really? BBWI does report on the 23rd. Oh, there you go. That takes care of that. The airlines I've never liked. The cruise lines were great stocks once upon a time. They all look good. RCL usually sees the best size. Today didn't really see much. It was CCL and NCLH, but they're all going to move together, more than likely. They're all going to move together, so it really doesn't matter. BBWI reported already. That's what I thought. But the date could be wrong. I don't know. I'll double check. Let me check it on here. What does it say on here? I thought they reported. That's why I threw it on there. Oh, look at TradingView. It says that's where he's probably getting it. 223. Thinkorswim says 22. Yeah, sometimes I see 5 different dates. You know what I mean? Sometimes I get 5 different dates from 5 different sources if it's not confirmed. So, that's why we got to just double check it. Oh, yeah, Baba's the worst. Baba's the worst. But, this looks interesting too. This was a hot name. I mean, every time I scroll back on some of these, I get turned off. Yeah, Bath and this was a spinoff from, wait, who spun this off? What's the difference? Victoria's Secret, right? Yeah, Victoria's Secret. Yeah, these are the studs. These are stud travel names. Like Expedia, you remember the size action we saw with Time. What was that? Like the summer? I think that was the summer. When did we start seeing Expedia action? You guys remember better than I do. They had to roll down initially. They were early, remember? Dated action, June, July. That's what I thought. Yeah, because they were early. Yep, that's it. June, July, right here. Yeah, so Expedia's a great name, though. Yeah, Expedia. Booking, too. Booking's a beast. Just don't buy Trip. What's Trip, though? This piece of garbage. Oh, Jesus Christ. Like, there's no reason to buy Trip, though. Seriously, if you want to make a play, just buy Booking or Expedia. Why would you buy Trip? If you want, I'm saying if you want to make a play on the group, you know? Yeah, hotel names look great. They just, it's not new, right? These things are new highs. Like, I'll be honest with you, I missed the boat here. There was more than enough flow in these things. There you go. Sean just cashed a ticket. Nice job, Sean. So we're looking for new stuff here. I dropped the ball in these travel names because they were in these hotel stocks. They were the only ones catching flow. There was nothing else catching flow, right? Like this one, LYV. Remember the big action in this? LYV, Live Nation. Yeah, they look good. This the reopening trade dead is because of that shakeout and because it hasn't taken as long, is not as crowded. You know what I mean? Like you got sellers all over the place, and on the other side, every rally gets sold in these spec names. This reopening theme, without a doubt, could still hold its own. The only thing now is just you got to pay up. Like, look, even Live Nation, I mean, they were bombing it in this consolidation. So, now you got to buy it here. Kind of looking for new action. Yeah. Is an oh boy. He hasn't been too hot of late, right? Yeah, that was probably him gobbling it up. All kidding aside, that was him probably bombing it in those sweeps we saw. I saw Bill. I love that stock. I was hoping that thing will stay down, but it had earnings, right, Lourdes? I like this Bill. Some names look a lot better than others, right? It's not everything looks awful. Not everything looks awful. Yeah. That's why, especially now, because you had this rally here, right? That's what you always got to look back. We had this, okay? And you had earnings too. Some of these things pop. But you had this bounce here. Let's see what they look like now. We get some selling. And God forbid we get some sweeper activity into that selling. That's where I'm going to forget about the overall market and I'm going to look to names. The overall market, I don't want to concentrate on that. You know what I mean? Lourdes, I love names. Especially now, even if the market, like we're saying, sits around, but we're seeing quality buying, like we saw in the hotels and all that, in a group of names, we can start, building some position with time, Lourdes, like you like to do. You know what I mean? So that I'm hoping for that. And like I told you guys, Lourdes, I don't think it's going to be that long. I think it's going to be sooner than later. We at least start seeing some shopping in new names. You know what I mean? In newer names. Regardless of what the market is going to end up doing. Because look, like you guys have pointed out, the market has been no great shakes. And you look at names like these hotel stocks and they look solid. The travel stocks, they look solid. So There's proof right there. You don't need the market raging to new highs every day to find alpha in individual names. Viacom has had action, Cal, ahead of earnings. Even the other one, there's been longer term buying. Disca. These things have been oof. Yeah, this is what killed these stocks, right, Cal? This. What stupidity that move was, huh? That squeeze. Yeah, Cal, a lot of you got like I think you got Dan Niles loves it too. It's just timing is the thing, you know? Yeah, it hasn't been the same since this run up. Yeah, this was craziness though, right? This was just craziness. A lot of stupidity went on there in that stretch. Yeah, and then the hedge fund blew up. Right, that was when what's his face blew up. Exactly. Yep. Just like these are slow names to see a squeeze like that. Like look prior, right? Like this stock is almost like a dead heartbeat, no matter what direction it's heading into. And then off of COVID, it was just nuts. So we'll see. You know, we know where the momentum is now. You know where the momentum is going to be a quarter or two from now, guys. I have no clue, and I don't have anything to even base it on. You know, like see, Cal, like you have, you're pretty determined that commodities are going to be the place to be, right? You're kind of on like that Bova Hartnett bias, right? Like you commodities, this is rotation, this is real. Right. See, the only thing I'm worried about, like I told you, Cal, these commodity plays is if you run into a little noise on the opposite end from the Fed, you get some selling, and if these things are up already, you could get caught. Yeah, like the names I like, Cal, see, you like names that have come in. So that's even better. But like the names that have been catching the good action, like Alcoa, like I can't, where do I get comfortable? Like this thing, finds a little dip and then boom, right to new high. It's like it's gone now. Commodity super cycle, exactly. Later, Dad. Have a good night, buddy. Valet. Now, see, again, flow wise, there's some bull flow, but nothing that's going to get me excited to buy it off flow, So again, that's not how I play the game. You know what I mean? Like for me to handicap, I can find good and bad. Like what was this was headline, right? What happened here that Valet got killed? Something happened out of the blue. That's the risk in this stock. Political stuff, right? Yeah, political, exactly. TSM, listen, if you want to look towards tech right now, TSM is worth a look. But again, you talk about risk. You have some risk there, headline risk without a doubt, right? But I would use the July sweep if I was going to play it, just in case you're early. I love TSM, but you're in the heart of China risk there, aren't you? Or no? So it's not like you could get too crazy. That's what I mean. I can find, and I'm not normally like that, guys. I can find a legitimate rebuttal for everything right now. And I need the flow to force me to buy something. Which one, Sean? The TSM? Yeah. Yeah. Again, I have no clue. I have no clue. The travel names, they look interesting. But other than that, commodity names have been hot. What else you guys got? Groupon. I don't know if I can buy that. What are you buying it as a buyout? Last buy high, sell higher. Yeah, Lourdes, that's you're better at that than I am, you know? I'm not good at that game. GPN, that was a decent stock to catch some action. That caught legit action. That caught legit action. Did they report yet? Oh, they reported. This is an interesting name, a fintech name. Big action with time. Plan. I haven't looked at Plan in a while. Let's see Plan. Damn, just sitting there. You know, let's see post earnings, you know? No, I didn't talk about PayPal yet. I don't have an opinion, you know? I don't know. This is catching a falling machete. You know, this is catching a falling machete. Like, and you want to see the thing with PayPal, like you want to see this thing the way it is now. You see how this thing is just getting killed? Like for me to get interested now, I got to see it get bombed. You understand? I want to see somebody with with conviction, because I don't have it, come in and say, I'm buying the living piss out of this thing down from 300 to 120. You know, if I don't see that, I just can't get excited about, you know, PayPal catching a sweep here and there. You know, I can't get excited. Yeah, Lourdes, that may be the biggest catalyst. You know what I mean? That you get some legitimate rumors there at this point. Because wow, there's been damage, you know? It's just unbelievable how, you know, remember we were scratching our heads wondering why this thing is getting killed. And then, like, you know, you get a quarter like that where nobody wants to even look at it. It's just nuts. But this is, listen, my only response to all this, because again, I was just as clueless. I had no idea why PayPal was going down. When you see a chart that looks like this, guys, there's always risk of something like this showing up off any negative news. You know, like we talk about crowded trades on the more tactical side. Think about how many people who are long this name for ages, right, Lourdes? This thing's been a beast for ages. This was an ATM machine for a good, what, 5-year span? Square too, and that went sour. Look. Yep. So as bad as it looks, guys, this is, to me, through time, this is normal, right? We talk about this all the time. But that's what I get. That's what scares me with position plays, that, you know, when you scroll to the left of the chart, it looks like this, you know? Oh, what the hell is that? You know what I mean? It's just straight up. SE is another one. Like, I mean, that's without a, what happened here? Trading view froze. Trading view froze. SE2, you know? It's just straight up. It's been straight up. What's going on here? Every time. Trading view and Zoom. Are you guys frozen too? Somebody type a letter in chat if you hear me. Oh, no? So it's just me? Why does this happen all the time? Yeah, it's trading view every time. It's still, you know what it is? When I spam a button, I guess it clicked too fast, it gets jammed up and I'm stuck now. It's tired of the SE story. It's tired. But yeah, guys, listen, I'm hoping we can talk about more and more names. Okay. remember we were saying how flow, we're going to start to see things clear up a bit. At least we're going to see some shopping in names this week. Yesterday was abysmal. We saw some today. Okay. So it should at least gradually improve. Even if the market's a shithole, we should see some stock picking out there. Yeah, Jay, without a doubt, that's honestly, that could be your better bet. If you just want to play it safe, Jets. You know, because they're probably going to all move together. You're right. Have a good night, T. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. And you know, you can get cute too in those airlines, because some of the better airlines out there usually trade better than Delta, American Airlines. Like, for example, Southwest or a Hawaiian Airlines, if it catches flow. Save. Oh, they got bought out, I think, yesterday. But you know what I mean? Sometimes those names will perform better when they see action. But you can play a Jets if you want to play the group, without a doubt. Just, I would recommend trying to buy weakness there if you're going to take a shot. You should see weakness. And if you're interested, that's where you got to show up. That's where you would have to show up. I'm still frozen here, by the way. We're going to wrap it up now anyway, but I'm still frozen. Yeah, individuals are tough. They're tough in airlines. Airlines are the worst. Let me ask you a question. You wouldn't rather play cruise lines than airlines? Wouldn't you rather play cruise lines than the airlines? Right? So, like, I'm more interested in the cruise lines. I'm going to keep an eye on than the airlines. Yeah, exactly. But we'll see. You know, yeah, we'll see. I'm definitely watching the cruise lines, Presley. I wouldn't tell you if I was. You know, I want to see if they start to accumulate these things with a little bit of time. Because there's upside there. There's definitely upside there. All right, but stay patient. It's coming. Something, one or the other, it's coming. Sit tight. We're getting close. Yeah. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. Enjoy the night. Good luck the rest of the week. I'll see most of you mañana. Now I got to figure out how to X out of here. Can I even X out of this? They locked me up. They pulled the Bronx tail. They said, now you can't leave. Oh, here we go. Oh, what a menagerie. Later, guys.